Okay, I think you'll like this video. You'll probably repeat this information to other people over cocktails or something. Two of these three people are, well, one of them is famous, and the other one you'll know by proxy by having shopped in grocery stores or whatnot where his products are still sold. But when Nikola Tesla died, he had an enormous amount of paperwork. He actually had an associate that worked with him for the past several years of his life, and it's a person that you never heard of, and that was Blois Fitzgerald. And there was another individual that was a proxy for the communist government, who was a really strong, super wealthy influencer that founded a product company I'll tell you in a minute. But the most important one, and you'll like this fact, and you can actually search this all over the web, you'll find tons of corroboration, and I know you don't know this, that current President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, his father had a brother, and that brother was John G. Trump. And John G. Trump was an engineer working for the military-industrial complex that was loosely associated with MIT on radar and advanced particle research. And he himself specifically, and there is a footnote in the FBI declassified files, of which there are over 280 pages. I'll upload them if you want. They were declassified in 1986, some of them, and the rest of them later on. Only recently did the CIA, and I made a video about that a few months ago, declassify scalar wave weaponry, just 3 pages, of which part of the second page is blacked out. John G. Trump, the uncle to Donald J. Trump, current President of the United States, is the person, not my opinion or belief, was the person that actually was in charge of collecting and essentially stealing, because the rightful heir to those works was Sava Kosanovic, who was a government official in Serbia. Not Serbia at that time, it would have been Serbia at that time. Anyway, it was the relative of Nikola Tesla, who was actually the true proprietor of those works, but the U.S. government was worried about these papers getting in the hands of communists. And also in these FBI, a lot of these are marked classified all over the place, and once they were declassified, there's a big X over the classified mark. And these I actually downloaded from the FBI's own website. This is not like conspiracy theory crap. This is from the FBI's own damn website. And also the documents on scalar wave technology, and with which there's only 3 pages that allude to the fact that yes, scalar wave technology is real. You know, it's from the CIA's own website, and I made that video several months ago. But I'm going to mention to you 3 individuals and who they are, give you some general information you'll find interesting. But John G. Trump, who knew Nikola Tesla and was insulted by Nikola Tesla. Basically, Nikola Tesla said he was an idiot. I'll tell you that in a second here. The uncle of Donald Trump, the current President of the United States. And don't get into politics. I'm not interested in politics, so I know you want to bring in politics into this one way or the other, but these are just the facts. That Donald Trump's uncle, the one who Donald Trump is always praising as being so smart, it turns out the reality is that John G. Trump, well, you know, brilliant in his own regard, was not all that intelligent. And here we go, that John G. Trump, military-industrial complex, loose association, MIT professor, he worked with Dr. de Graaf on a Van de Graaff generator and iterations of the Van de Graaff generator. 1938, Nikola Tesla himself publicly humiliated John G. Trump when he demonstrated that he could get a lot more energy and efficiency from 2 small Tesla coils than Trump could from his gigantic Van de Graaff generator. So we know that Mr. Trump knew Nikola Tesla, and that Nikola Tesla publicly humiliated the hell out of him. Basically, Nikola Tesla said, you know, you're an idiot. That's kind of funny. Trump specialized in X-ray and radiation sciences later, and he was initially head of radar and top-secret radar research for the military complex. United States government engineer. Specifically, he did, and there is a foundational footnote, that John G. Trump, when Nikola Tesla died, and he was head of, I think it's called Office of Alien Affairs, where they would take in stuff that was vital to national security and confiscate it. that John G. Trump is the one that confiscated this stuff. And here's some really important information in addition to that. John G. Trump mentioned that he found a 45-year-old multi-decade resistance box for adjusting capacitance resist for Nikola Tesla's, what we call the death ray of Nikola Tesla, or what Nikola Tesla called it the Teleforce device. But John G. Trump mentioned that he found that in the box where Nikola Tesla's Teleforce, or what we currently call death ray, schematics and diagrams and whatnot were found. The important thing, and this is really important, because after Trump confiscated those things, he wrote a report saying that there was nothing of any scientific value. 45 trunks of Nikola Tesla, the most brilliant mind who basically lived in the past 100 years. There was nothing of any scientific value found in the warehouse, of which there were exactly 45 trunks and other various assemblages in Tesla's apartment. Now, if you believe that, then you're not only crazy, but it also comports against the document PDF files that I have. They're declassified from the FBI that are insanely concentrated on who the hell is trying to get these files. Are they communist or not? Where the hell are they? We found them all. It's ridiculous. And after they're found, known what the contents are, they keep trying to find the rest of the contents, and they're worried about a couple different people. Because the Russians knew about Tesla's death ray, because Nikola Tesla wrote himself to J.P. Morgan on November 29, 1934, that he demonstrated it to the Russians, and yada yada yada. He states, the Russians are very anxious to render their borders safe against Japanese invasion, and have made a proposal which is being seriously considered regarding his Teleforce, or death ray. So the Russians knew all about Nikola Tesla. Now, this is where it's going to be interesting. Well, the fact that Donald J. Trump, the current president of the United States, his uncle, is literally, not my belief or conspiracy, literally not Donald Trump, excuse me, but John G. Trump is mentioned over and over again in these highly redacted, formerly highly classified top secret FBI files that I downloaded from FBI's own website. That's a fact. Trump is mentioned everywhere in there. The person that also comes up, and I'll mention kind of the best for last. Really, Trump is kind of the best. I already mentioned that, but there's a Russian immigrant who immigrated over to the United States early. His name is Abraham N. Spanel. It turns out that this guy was a Russian communist collaborator, but he's the guy. You're going to know who this is. You ever heard of Playtex products? Now they make tampons, too. The guy that founded Playtex products was Playtex bra. You've seen that, back the Playtex bras. He's also the guy that he got really rich supplying rubber to the military complex during World War II, and he squirreled away countless millions of tons of rubber so it wouldn't be bombed in case the Germans tried to bomb. Because rubber in World War II was insanely important. So he got super rich off of that. The Russians used him, and this is all in FBI's file. The FBI are really, really concerned because Abraham N. Spanel chased around another guy that was close buds that Tesla revealed all his top secret experiments to, named Blois Fitzgerald. Literally, Abraham, in short, without getting into tremendous detail to bore the piss out of you, and this is all in the FBI files. Abraham N. Spanel glued himself onto Blois Fitzgerald like a tick to try to suck out, because he was a proxy for the Communist Party in Russia, Soviet Union, to get all the information he could out of Blois. Now, the FBI is not privy to ultra top secret projects. Well, the FBI has a lot of top secret stuff. They had no idea what Blois was working on, so they themselves, even though they're the FBI, are in the dark about the really top secret shit that Blois was working on, because the FBI is noticing a lot of really weird crap about Blois Fitzgerald, who had hung around Tesla and was privy to all his top secret experiments. The FBI's formerly top secret documents, now declassified, state that Blois, after Tesla died, was immediately commissioned as an Army private stationed at Wright Field in Dayton, Ohio. And Blois states over and over again that Tesla explained his most top-secret experiments. And the FBI notes that in spite of his rank as private, which is a nobody, Blois Fitzgerald is the director and head of research into this top secret weaponry at Elgin Field in Florida. It's a military installation. September 1944, Blois was inducted into the Army. So the FBI doesn't have clearance into black project, super top secret stuff that the true inner circle sanctum of the government is doing. I mean, even though their documents are top secret, I mean, it's just another branch of the government. They just don't have access to what Blois was doing. Blois Fitzgerald is working on Tesla's Teleforce weapon. This is the FBI quote. Blois Fitzgerald is working on Tesla's Teleforce weapon, which would melt airplane motors at a distance of 250 miles with no attenuation. It would be a, quote, invisible Chinese wall built around the country. Blois is the one that helped them find, I forget the exact New York warehouse, 45 trunks of Tesla's data. Spaniel latched on to Blois Fitzgerald. FBI has dozens and dozens of pages of documents of every person, Abraham and Spaniel. This is the guy that founded Playtex. You go to a grocery store, you see these gloves, Playtex rubber gloves, you know what I'm talking about? Like for scrubbing your dishes. My grandma always had a drawer full of Playtex rubber gloves. It's like the founder of Playtex was a commie spy, a multimillionaire commie spy. And then the communist Russians used him as a puppet to latch onto the back of Blois Fitzgerald to steal and extract as much information about the now dead Tesla's exotic Teleforce death ray beam weaponry and anything else he could. Isn't that pretty neat? And then the guy that Tesla publicly insulted as a moron, who knew Tesla, so Donald J. Trump, current president of the United States, his uncle knew Nikola Tesla. This is not like opinion or conspiracy, this is a hardcore fact. Tesla insulted the hell out of him publicly. But interestingly enough, John G. Trump, within a short few years after having his hands on these things, while he himself did not develop weaponry-based beam technology, I've got a link for you below. There's an hour-long interview with John G. Trump from back in the early 80s, because he died in 1985. Where he's talking about all the amazing, some of these devices are as large as a football field. These beam not beam weaponry, but beam research. He used Nikola Tesla's stuff that he helped to swipe for the government, the U.S. government that he worked for, and he used the technology he got from that in non-military applications. So it was medical, some of it was waste cleaning. He won he won like a presidential award from Ronald Reagan and somebody else, but you see, he didn't come up with this stuff. What he did is he glommed off what he stole along with the U.S. government. And it was also mentioned, too, that John G. Trump photocopied the, it's called, the Office of Alien Affairs, where they actually collect stuff that they don't want to fall in the enemy. Now, it's understandable the U.S. government knew, because Tesla made demonstrations to the Soviets, his exotic weaponry. So the U.S. government knew that the Soviets were dying to get a hold of that stuff. So they were obviously scared, and that's why they were following around Abraham and Spaniel. So the current president of the United States, his uncle, his father's brother, John G. Trump, is literally the person who is in charge of swiping away all the 45 trunks. Now, Blois Fitzgerald says there's 45 trunks, and there's three locations, actually. 3 locations where all his trunks were, including notes that were in Nikola Tesla's apartment, but specifically 45 trunks. And John G. Trump himself confirms that he is obviously the instrumental part in this, and one thing that has escaped FBI classified redaction is that he himself found, which is a little array, a box, it's called a multitude resistance box, that was in the notes for Nikola Tesla's Teleforce apparatus. So John G. Trump is talking about the stuff that's in the trunks. Well, one thing didn't get redacted. And amazingly enough, John G. Trump had no intelligent contribution. He just worked with Dr. DeGraff on various types of DeGraff generator technology. But after getting a hold of Nikola Tesla's stuff, he comes up with all sorts of interesting ion and particle, amazing multi-million volt particle accelerator technology. You see, he didn't come up with that on his own. He got it from Tesla. The military took all the military applications, but he was allowed to keep the scraps for non-military development. I don't know if that was an arrangement, pure speculation on my part, between him and the U.S. government of all the help he provided, because the reason why, too, that the U.S. government wanted John G. Trump was because he was become the Secretary of Microwave Committee, a subcommittee of the NDRC, which is, National Defense Research Committee, in charge of microwave technology and top secret microwave technology that the government was developing, not only for defense, but also for radar. He was the head of the military industrial complex subwing of MIT Research Lab, or RAD Lab, which was purely government, even though it was under the auspices of MIT. Trump was in charge of the Teleforce scalar wave tech research in his high-energy RAD Lab technology, deciphering of, obviously, Tesla's notes and whatnot. Because John G. Trump had been conducting the top secret radar research work for the Army. This is confirmed for NDRC, the National Defense Research Committee, onto advanced radar research. Because Tesla's Teleforce weaponry and radar are extremely similar technologies, so that's the reason why the goofball John G. Trump is picked to collect and to pour through. You imagine John G. Trump pouring through all this stuff, like, oh, that gives me an idea. I can use this for a non-military application. Isn't that interesting? This is a video called When Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. So you got three different people here. One person you never heard of before, Blois Fitzgerald. The guy that developed the first elastic bra for women and, the rubber glove, Playtex. Playtex Products is still a huge, I don't know if it's not $1 billion company, I don't think, but it's a huge multi-million-dollar rubber company. The guy that got super rich supplying rubber products to the U.S. government in World War II was also a commie puppet who tried to latch on to Blois Fitzgerald and suck everything he could out of him. He got him a job, he hovered over him, and the U.S. government separated Abraham N. Spaniel from Blois Fitzgerald. How they did that, I don't know, because it's blacked out and redacted. So I hope you like this. This is called Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. And this is the current... I have nothing to do with politics, okay? So don't bring up politics to me, please. This is Donald J. Trump's connection to Nikola Tesla, because his uncle, John G. Trump, is the one that... You can't use the word stole, but you can use the word stole. Like if the person's dead, you can still say stole. His uncle is the one that stole Nikola Tesla's stuff. He's perfectly positioned to pour through all of that as the head of radar research. Pretty amazing. So, yeah. I hope you like this video. If you do, you'd always make a $1 or $2 donation. I hope you found it interesting. It's fascinating. I thought, I bet nobody out there really knows this, and they'd like to know this sort of stuff. Because I'm a bundle of information, by the way. Thank you so much for watching, and bye. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum.